Good afternoon, and welcome to another Sunday's programming of Wellness Half Hour. Every Sunday, it's a privilege. Every Sunday, it's a labor of love to share wellness, to explore this space that very clearly helps us understand that wellness is our starting point. It's our perfection. It's how the body and the earth are created to journey together. We explore wellness, we impart there are several pillars to wellness. 5 pillars.
Recording in progress.
Number 1, spirituality. Number 2, mindset. Number 3, nutrition. Number 4, lifestyle. And number 5, environment. The month of September was really dedicated to children's awareness, children's wellness, children's health, and some of the elements that challenge children today. And sadly, one of the worst elements that occur to adults, we are seeing increasingly in children. I don't even like to even call the word out. It's that big C word. Last week we had Dr. Mrs. Nwobbi. Today we have, of course, Sherese Ijewere, our co-host, who will more or less moderate this awesome discussion. And our program will flow into Uncle Soni's programs as we delight you guys with lots of information and knowledge. All right, so welcome to Wellness Half Hour.
Thank you, Doctor, and good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted to introduce to you our 2 guests in the studio today, Dr. Nneka Nwobbi, who Doctor has introduced, and also Mrs. Phoebe Gifai Broha. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. So last week we were on the topic of children awareness. We spoke a lot about different cancers, one of the prominent cancers being leukemia. And really, it doesn't matter whether it's prominent or not. Cancer is something that when one hears the word, it makes you kind of take a step back and look at what's really going on, how, why. And many times, science has shown us that we don't really know the reason for this cancer. However, we can look at our environment, our lifestyle, our diet, what we're eating, what we're not eating, and just the way that we're living. So let me start with Dr. Nneka. Dr. Nneka, I know last week you shared so much, and we were a bit emotional on the sharing, especially myself. And we asked about some of the emotions that you go through when you're presented with certain cases, and of course in helping patients, helping their families, and of course your foundation. So maybe you start with telling us again about your foundation.
Okay, we are Children Living with Cancer Foundation. We started 21 years ago here in Lagos, and it was basically because at the time there were no charities that cater for childhood cancers and the children and their family, because you cannot take away the child from the family. So when we started, it was quite daunting, because even when we reach out to companies and individuals, they weren't going to have any of that. One of them, who I was very surprised at, was a pharmacist who ran a big corporation. And when I went to meet her, she was like, look, go and change your proposal to HIV and you have my sponsorship. Cancer, children, nah, we won't waste our money on that. And I was like, why? She said, because they all die. So what's the point of putting all this money, here where they will die? And I'm like, even if they would die, they still need to have the dignity of life before passing. The pains they go through can be controlled. And it's not actually true that, they all die, because abroad we have 80 85% cure rate. It's only, well, at that time we had about 20% or less cure rate, and that was because people were coming out late. Many people were not aware that children have cancer, and at that time there was I think a flood or something in America, and most of the children who were in a hospital being treated for cancer had to be shifted from one place to the other, and they had reported that they had cure. So I used to prescribe to Reader's Digest. So I took my own to her so that she can just take a look at it and see that with people like her, there's so much that could be done, to achieve cure for these children, So that's basically what we see, and then when we go out for outreach programs to educate people, one of our biggest benefactors run a big mall in Lekki here, and her daughter had cancer of the kidney when the child was 1 year. The child is about 23 now, and so because of that, she gave us the mall to do outreach programs, printed out pamphlets, and we're giving to people. And when we go to people, they're like, please, is that my portion? I want it in Jesus' name. They can't, and they actually went to her to complain that we were disturbing them with such awful news.
Wow.
So she came to us and said, look, don't meet anybody, just have your stand. If they come to you, you explain. If they don't come to you, don't go after anybody, don't try to share the pamphlets. So it's just to tell you, how it started and the challenges we met while we started. It wasn't a very nice place to be at, because people, in fact, somebody was like, this one that you're carrying about childhood cancer, I hope your own child will not get cancer. Wow. And I'm like, well, it's not me to say. And if it does happen, it's the will of God, and there are ways. Personally, I believe that God cannot give me what I cannot handle. He has already put the answers all around me. It's just for me to, navigate myself towards. So if I start feeling negative, then I won't be able to get to those answers. So I'm like, well, I have to do what I have to do, because I need people to understand that children too do have cancer.
Yeah, very true. And thank you so much for sharing that. The stigma around just the word cancer and also it affecting children. Yeah, that's really insightful. So with the work that you've done and sharing with parents, sharing with just everyone that you come across, how has that sharing been received by others?
Like I said at the beginning, it wasn't quite pleasant, but
as time
go by. In fact, I think this year we'll have the best reception we've ever had during this September, because we'll have many people, keying in and trying to do the best that they can, but right from that time, I said to myself that if I can talk to one person a day about childhood cancers, then at the end of the year, I would have at least met 360 people, to tell them. And if I can educate them and ask them to educate others, then, the work will be propagated. So that's one of the things I always talk about. When even the parents whom we help, or the families that we help, and they're like, you don't take any money from us. I'm like, pass it on. Tell another person that children have cancer. Don't hide it, because the more you hide it, the worse it will be for the next child. But when you talk about it, people get to know about it, and then things can be done for these children. So right now, I'm very happy to say that the survival rate in Lagos that I'm very competent with has shot up. Well, close to 50%, 60% cure rate in Lagos, at least at Lutz, So that gladdens my heart.
Yes.
And I want to believe that it is part of what we have done that we've gotten to that stage. But now it is more acceptable. We are actually looking for producers to start. Like I told you last week that we used to tell the stories of a child every year. Governor Ambody actually sponsored one of our stage programs, so that people can, and then he sent people from the ministry, and they all left there all wet-eyed, because the stories that are told is not fiction; they are true stories, and most times the families of the child whose story is being told, would be there to see that stage play enacted, and it is quite emotional.
Yes.
And so any help, any publicity, any talking to anybody that we can do, we try to do that.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know across the board, socioeconomics, whether you're wealthy or whether you're not wealthy,
It doesn't.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't know whether you're rich or poor. The only difference is that the rich can get to go abroad to have treatments, and then the poor stay here with us. So that is why we actually need to have this the as much help as we can for the children, because for me, every child deserves a chance, a fighting chance. That's it.
Okay. So at this point, I think I will bring in Mrs. Phoebe Jifai Broha, who owns the Children's Art Gallery. And she collaborated with Dr. Nneka, and the title or the topic was Hope Blooms.
Yeah.
So Phoebe, welcome. Can you tell us a bit more about your collaboration?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Children's Art Gallery, we just hit our 2-year anniversary. And basically the premise of what we do is support children's welfare and support their wellness journey through the arts. So whether that's accessing art, viewing art, or making art, our goal is to support them as holistically as we possibly can. So for us, collaboration is really key. My area of expertise is in the arts. But I know how it can so practically affect children developmentally, their mental health and emotional health as well. And now with our structure at the gallery, we're looking at how we can support them financially as well. So very early on when the gallery opened, we connected with the Children Living with Cancer Foundation, and we just loved their hands-on approach. They're also looking at holistic support for the families that are affected. And then in addition to that, they already had art programming. And I basically just fell in love with their approach. So they gather volunteers who are artists or people who just want to help the kids. So the children receiving treatment, as well as their family members and childhood cancer survivors as well, all come together. And it's very therapeutic for the kids, first of all. Before the art travels anywhere, I think it's such a wonderful time for them to connect with themselves and take a moment to focus on a project rather than what's specifically in front of them. I think we all know that hospital settings are not happy places. And so for the kids to have something that uses tactile movement, engagement with their hands and their eyes, it really helps develop their mindset outside of what's happening in the hospital walls. So as soon as we heard about the foundation, we said, let's start something. So this is the second year actually that we've exhibited some of the children's artwork. For me, it's been absolutely incredible because I think this is something that affects people more than we realize. And the exhibition is a fantastic opportunity, not only for the kids to experience the benefits of art, but as well as our audience members to come and learn about childhood cancer, as well as understand children's resilience. It can be a very depressing, kind of nuanced topic. But when we look at the art done by these kids, we would have no idea that they have cancer, that this was done in a hospital ward. They're quite resilient. There's so much joy and different emotions that they're able to convey through their pieces. And so when we were developing and kind of curating the exhibition, Hope Blooms is immediately what came to mind because of the bright colors, just the blossoming of their stories through the healing process. Exactly, their stories through the pieces. It's quite powerful.
I really enjoyed touring the art gallery. You could see the life in the pictures. Some of the children drew flowers. Some of them had very detailed painting. And all of this artwork was displayed on the wall of the Children Art Gallery. It was very welcoming. If someone didn't tell you that these children had cancer, you would have no idea. And on the wall of the art, they also had some of the pictures of the children, and as they were receiving their treatment or in the hospital setting, they were doing their artwork. I thought that was just so beautiful. What emotions came up for you as the organizer, the head person for Hope Blooms?
Yeah, it's it's a mix of things for me. So I actually had a very close childhood friend who passed away from leukemia when we were both 16 years old. So that really affected my understanding of childhood cancer because I was directly involved with it. So growing up from probably 11 years old, I was visiting her in hospital settings. Funny enough, as well as I would go to her house and we would work on art projects together. So I remember her mom mentioning a few times, not to me, but to my own mother, how much this helped her to get her mind off of what was happening. And I never thought that experience would circle back years later to be involved in something that's not just working with one child, but a whole group of children. So I just feel lucky, to be honest. Of course, it's a lot of mix of emotions, but I think just hearing these stories of impact from the foundation as they've been putting in the hard work for 20 years now, you're seeing the change, and you're seeing that it's worth advocating for these children, and as well as come up with programming that's meeting all of their needs as much as possible. So for me, it's a really gratifying experience, but I think also it can be quite heavy sometimes. You hear a lot of these stories and it's difficult to have hope, but the numbers are there. We're seeing that the impact is being made.
Yes. And when you are putting these programs together, is this something that children just volunteer or their parents just push them into it, or how is that approach?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the Cancer Foundation, it's really, the collaboration is really all children are welcome that are in the ward. So most of the pieces are very collaborative. You'll have maybe 4 or 5 children who are making one piece at a time. And then basically, the parents give permission for the children to participate as kind of a act of volunteering, a charitable act. So for example, if a cancer survivor comes in and helps create a piece, they're aware that piece of art goes into the gallery. And then when we sell that piece, it goes towards the children's treatment, as well as research and a few other things for family support. So it's a collective group of people coming together to kind of create the exhibition opportunity.
Yeah, and to add to that, really, most of the children who are too ill to come out to the play area or to the painting area, you can see the sadness in them. So sometimes we even have to take the work into the ward. Take the frame, the canvas, the paints, brushes, and set it beside them so that they too can participate. Because you can't imagine what it does for them.
I can just imagine.
So you see them, they look forward to it. In fact, sometimes the children who have been discharged before that Saturday would come back just for this program, paint, and go back home because it's so soothing for them.
Yes.
And then, of course, now is not time for injections or bloodletting. So there's laughter, there's, they talk with each other and they play with each other. You can see the interaction between them. And really and truly, when you're in that ward, it's like a family. So they get to know each other, they get to even communicate with each other outside of the ward. So really is something that, so if a parent, there are some parents who don't want their kids to join, for whatever reasons they have, but then when they see that their child is longing for that,
Yes.
sometimes they relent and let the child come to paint.
Yes. And that's so key in therapy. the art therapy. And art therapy cuts across all ages, including seniors. So we have a program that we run as well that seniors come and you can see the excitement that they're doing arts and craft or they're doing painting. So yet alone children, how excited and looking forward to the next project. How often does the children art gallery display projects or artwork such as the from the Cancer Foundation?
Yeah, so each exhibition, I'd say, takes a bit of a different approach. But correct me if I'm wrong, but this past year, the foundation was able to start doing these workshops with the children on a consistent basis, on a monthly basis. So that as well created a lot more physical pieces of art for us to display. But basically, our structure is after an exhibition period, whatever pieces don't sell, we continue to display them at the gallery or in some of our other spaces that we showcase. And then throughout the year, we're selling pieces and gathering the proceeds to donate to, in this case, the Cancer Foundation. But we've also worked with a couple of other charitable projects, as well as maybe children with special needs such as autism and Down syndrome. And it's the same structure with that as well. When we sell the pieces, it goes towards the child's welfare. So sometimes that's quite practical. Maybe it's paying for healthcare bills, paying for school fees, paying for more art supplies, and that type of a thing.
That's such a blessing that you're blessing other families with this therapy. So right now, in terms of the art that is, if you can explain to the listeners, how would they find you and how would they find Dr. Nwobbi? And also the arts, how would they be able to view them?
Mm-hmm. So the gallery is located in Victoria Island. You can find us on pretty much any social media platform under TCA Gallery, as well as on Google Maps as well. We definitely encourage people to pre-book an appointment so that we can give kind of a curated tour and kind of explain our processes and the different exhibitions that we have on hand. Actually, today we're announcing that we're extending the exhibition.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So today was supposed to be the closing day, but we've got such positive feedback that we really want to extend the viewing period. So we're extending until the 20th of October.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, at least it gives people a chance to come see the works, being mindful that on the opening night, I hadn't been around, so I wasn't there when the works were set up. The opening night when I visited, I just saw a piece of artwork that was done by a child that I've gotten so attached to. They had passed. It passed about 2 weeks before the exhibition opened, and it just hit me that I will never see this child again. So it's something that for me is a chance to give children, so, and funny enough, it's not just the children that actually do artwork when we go. Their parents sometimes want to relieve their own tension, especially when we do beadworks. So they too participate. So it gives them a chance to express themselves, be alive. Sometimes by the next year, some of those children may not be there. They would have passed.
Yes.
But that chance to, express themselves, for me is something that I look forward to. Somebody will say, what do you gain running this charity? The joy of these children. No, there's no payment. There's nothing that can compare to the laughter, the exuberance when they are walking, when they are happy, when they see you and they see you with hope coming for them. That is
joy
awesome.
In itself. Yes.
Yes. So we are Children Living with Cancer Foundation, and you can meet us on any of the platform as either Childhood Cancers or CLWCF. That's the acronym for Children Living with Cancer Foundation, CLWCF.
And both of your tag names are on Facebook, they're on Instagram.
Yeah, on Twitter, and I think that's it.
Okay, wonderful. So, question, when it comes to children living with cancer, we do want to open the phone lines. So, if others have any questions for our two special guests, the WhatsApp number, the phone number is 0700 923 923 923. So we're here to take your calls, and if you have a WhatsApp that you'd like to send, it's 0817 313 6193. And what came to mind, Phoebe and Dr. Nneka, is you have children who sometimes can be spoiled. I don't want to say they're privileged, but some are spoiled, and sometimes parents need to give them a reality check. The just visiting the children, doing the artwork, or coming around to people who may not have all what they have also helps to humble them, helps them to be grateful, helps them to what you're laughing, Dr. Nneka?
Yeah, because we went to one affluent school, and after speaking with them, they're like, I'm sorry, we can't work with you.
Wow.
And I'm like, why? And they're like, no, we don't want our children to feel any guilt.
Wow.
We don't want them to be traumatized by what they will see or hear. And for me, it was so crazy, because I mean, such a thought never entered my head. And then we'll have schools, I don't know whether I can mention names, but there's a particular school that has been supporting us for over 15 years now.
Wow.
And what they do is to give us water. They give us water. They make sure that we'll have at least, I think, 4 big gallons of water every week. And they make payments. How the water comes, I don't know, but all I know is that every week we exchange bottles, and they give us the dispenser, and the water comes. And their children have been doing so much. They just turned 25 years last Saturday, and the school have been awesome. They take walks on our behalf. They try to talk about child cancer at every given opportunity. They have games and sports that invite parents. Because of us, they actually had their first medical outreach, and we were able to talk with not just the parents in the school, but also their drivers, the cleaners, so we were able to at least reach across board. So sometimes is not. Some students are quite good. There are quite a handful of schools that have come and acted the big brother part, reading to the children, in a calmer. Because what we're asking for really is not, yes, money is very important, but then the support to know that there are people who care.
Yes.
There are people who would do everything for you. They don't have the money because they're little children, but they can ask their parents to to take them down. When they are coming, they bring an apple, they bring one banana, they bring orange, little things that would touch a child. And we always advocate that they bring healthy things, and then teach them to make sure that they take as much healthy things as they possibly can. And then there's this particular family. The mother of the child was like, the child cannot go, this child cannot, but it was at the terminal stage.
Okay.
The father had come to terms with it, and when they asked the child what the child wanted, the child said, I just want a big party.
Wow.
So they asked the youth authorities if they can have the party for the child. They said, okay, go ahead, let's see what the child wants. And they had a superb party with the clowns, with everything. And it was so joyful for this child. And less than 2 weeks later, the child passed, but the child passed happily.
Yes, of course.
With support from the father. The mother refused to let him go. When the child passed, the father called me and said, please, can you talk to my wife? Let her release this child. Let him go in peace.
Yes.
So most times it is difficult, but sometimes, Nigerians were very scared of the word death, and we don't want to accept that it is part of life, you know. So even when you're counseling a family, you try not to bring in those words, but you know that is lurking somewhere around that room where you are talking, you know. And for me, it is better to start preparing one's mind, seeing how the child is and the prognosis that you of course, like I keep saying, nobody is God, nobody knows which child will die, which child will survive. But then when you see a child that is poorly, you know that that child is poorly, you know. So we try as much as to encourage children to come, not for them to feel that yes, but to know that everything in life is privilege. Everything is nobody's right to be alive. Nobody has the exclusive right to be alive.
Exclusive rights. That's correct.
Or to be well. It can happen to anybody. Like we said, cancer across board, rich, poor, black, white. That's it basically.
Wow. And with just this conversation, to know what's the role of the mom and the dad.
Nigerian men are crazy men, honestly. I'm sorry to say. But then, having said that, we'll have some lovely fathers. When I say lovely fathers, you wish that they are from, you're part of family, because I can tell, count a number of them. And then some mothers too are crazy, because we've come across. There was one that comes particularly to mind, and this woman, I'm a Catholic, they are Catholics, and unfortunately the woman refused to accept. In fact, at the point was like, it is the man that made the girl to have cancer.
Wow.
And unfortunately that was their second child having cancer,
Oh.
And it got to to the point where they had their priest come to talk to the woman. They went to the Monsignor that got them married to talk with the woman. The woman refused for anything to be done to the child, for the child. Even blood transfusion, they scheduled the child had cancer of the bone, osteosarcoma, and at orthopedic hospital when they scheduled an operation to cut off that limb, the woman went berserk and was shouting and screaming that all of the doctors were part of her husband's cult.
Wow.
So we have some mothers that do some crazy things. They stopped that surgery that day. At the end of the day, when the man came to us, he didn't come to us for money, but I guess basically for counseling, for support. Because he's a lawyer, he had enough money. At the end of the day, he took the child to India, but by the time they got to India, the cancer had spread so badly. And the annoying thing and the hurtful thing for me was that they did cut off that limb. They came back to Nigeria. They were admitted at Lutz. The mother did not spend one day. At this time, the child was 16. When the census started, the child was about 12.
Wow.
At 16, the mother did not stay in the hospital with the child. It was the father. So, of course, a young lady like that needs some, hygiene things and all that. So it was the nurses. There are things that a man cannot do for his grown-up daughter. So it was the nurses that for me, it was mind-blowing. I never met this woman until after the child died. Then she now came to say thank you. And I'm like, thanking you for what? What rubbish is this? Like I said, they started at Ibobi. By the time we met, and I convinced them to see a doctor at Lutz, because that's where I train, that's where I'm more at home. And the day they came late to see the prof there. And I was like, why are you late? And the mother, the night before, had told the girl to come to her father's room and kneel down to beg him to release her.
Wow.
For me, the trauma on that child, the cancer alone, because at this time she's not a little girl that cannot comprehend. So Prof looked at the girl and told her, look, if that was before they went to India, if this hand is not taken out, my dear, how old are you? She said 16. You said you won't reach 17. And that's the basic truth. The girl started crying. So it's not a crying matter. First of all, you need to talk to your mother to let you be. So all this we have, and like I said, this child cancer breaks families, not one, not two. You know, last week we talked about the away match. So many, and I can't understand it. If you're not in this day of internet where there's so much knowledge out there, get yourself educated, ask questions,
Yes.
ask your doctors. And I'm not adverse to getting second, third, fourth opinion. Do that if what you're hearing is not something that you think is right. Because sometimes, like I said, the parents, tell the mothers, are the first doctors, the first
Of
nurse, the
course.
first teacher, the first everything that the child gets.
Yes.
As a mother, you look at your child. If you have that intuition, which most mothers, most or not all,
Yes.
have, you know that there's something wrong with this child. If you feel that is the case, take the child elsewhere, get a second opinion, ask questions, learn about what is going on, so that you are hands-on, you are able to do all that you can possibly do for your child or for your family member. That is it.
And with the mention of not all mothers are in tune, what do you think contributes to this?
The chase and the run around for money these days is quite plenty.
Yes.
And then I don't know what is going on with this newer generation of young ladies. I have quite a lot of them around me, and they surprise me. And I think one of the things that makes them less in tune to their children is the phone.
Yes.
The
Wow.
phone. Because they can be on that phone forever, and the child is there dying, and they're on the phone
Yes.
doing what I can't understand.
Yes.
What is your primary aim of being in this world? If you know you cannot care for a child, don't give birth to one. That is my
Yes.
my stance in it, because I really can't understand it. One of my nieces, whose child was about 2, 3, was there on her phone, and the child, waka. We were for a workout on that here, was a stranger. Whose child is this?
Wow.
And I'm like, so what were you doing? She said, auntie, sorry. In my own time, my mother will beat me, whether you have a child or you don't have a child. And I looked at her and I'm like, well, let me not send it to you. So that connection, I don't think is as much, it's not there the way it is in other women, other mothers who are in tune. There are women who are, for me, there are women who are not meant to be mothers, really. But that's a story for another day. But so you look at, and really and truly, when a mother's intuition comes in, as a doctor, I listen, because that child is with that mother more than the child is with you. The mother knows that child more than you can ever know. So it is left to you to do the right thing. Listen to that mother, and then sometimes, yes, mothers can be hysterical when they hear bad news like that. But if you actually listen to the words underneath that hysteria, you may get somewhere.
Some information. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. I know that as a mom, certainly just looking at my child, even without the child saying anything, I can pick up, certain messages. And I do know, yes, this generation with the phones 24 hours are not paying attention. So listeners, this is a call and a plea to you to pay attention to your children. Make time for your children. And time is not just being in a room with them, but actually interacting, communicating with them, sharing with them, getting to know them. Yes. So important. And when it comes to the parents, I know, yes, you've shared both sides. What happens when the doctors come in to give the news of that diagnosis? Because the children are always watching. So they're learning from what the parents' reaction is.
At a point, we had we were talking to the children to get a sense of what they feel, and then one of them says to me that, say, doctor, I'm waiting for my own time to pass. the child was 10, and I was like, I don't understand. Why are you saying that? He said, because this person has died, that person has died, and I know that my own turn is coming soon. Thank you for even talking with me about it, and me, talking to you about it, because I can't talk to mommy. Anytime, the doctors even come, after they come, she will cry and cry and cry. I don't want her to be unhappy again, so I can't discuss that with her. But I can tell you anything. You won't tell mommy. I said, no, I won't tell mommy. You just tell me what you feel, let us talk, So is there. And then some mothers will try, or some parents will try to hide their feelings, but some cannot hold themselves, and they just burst out, and and then some fathers or some parents, because it could be women too, are very cruel. One of them telling me that they cannot. He said it in Yoruba, and I had to ask what that meant. That he cannot waste good money on bad pap. That will be thrown away. So, and this was when he was asked to donate blood for his child. Like, what is the point? So we'll have parents like that, but we'll have parents who are so dedicated. They come for every appointment. They call you to find out how you are doing, even doing their own pain. How you're doing. There's one of the parents that every time she comes to see me, she brings me a bottle of granules. I don't know why, but even on our walk, she brought a bottle of granules. And then I was wondering why she has not given me the granules. I put the granules in your car, and she's done that for almost 5 years now. So we have parents who are dedicated and really, even when their child passes, they know that you have done the best you can. At least you have done something to help them one way or the other. Sometimes even paying there was a parent that who paid the fees after the child died so they can release the body of the child. And the man actually called his family members and was like, look, I don't know this woman from Adam, but this is what has happened, just to say thank you. So we have parents who do so much, and there are plenty of, it's only a handful that that would not appreciate what the child is going through, or even what the mother of the child is going through.
And it brings me to just the side of, how do we actually prevent, is there such a thing as trying to prevent these cancers, or even a screening?
Unfortunately, in childhood cancers, the only screening that there is the one for neuroblastoma, which is done when the woman is pregnant, but it's not offered here. It's done abroad, to find out, and then they follow up that child. If they detect anything, they use the amniotic fluid, and then they follow up the child. But then, having said that, prevention really, for me, is living close to the land. There's nothing that living close to the land would not at least try to correct.
Yes.
No matter how advanced it is, let us forget about all the processed foods. Let us go back
to our natural.
Yeah, every home, that is my own personal belief now. Every home should have a home garden.
Yes.
And which things are so expensive nowadays that is really crazy not having a home garden.
And listeners, for those of you who are tuned in, of course, many will say that they don't have land to plant, but you can also plant in a bag. You can plant in a sack. And whether it's planting ugu or spinach or tomatoes, okra, and this is also getting the whole family involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was telling the co-owner of the Children's Art Gallery's mother, when I met her, I was like, oh wow, this is somebody that thinks like me. This is somebody that can relate with, because everything we were,
agreeing
on. Growing up, I'm sure most of my age group people would attest to that. In Nigeria, you go to farm, you go to school, but you go to farm. And then in my own house, we had egusi growing on our farm. We had yam. We had cassava. So we were able to make our own gari. You know, the egusi peeling is like a chore that everybody that cuts across. You after your homework, they give you your own portion. You sit down, you're watching TV, you're peeling the egusi. You understand? So
Yes,
and then
yes.
now,
So we're missing some of these
and then
things.
that actually, you know,
Bonded the
bond
family.
the family together. These days, Marata will come back from school. She's in her room. Even to watch TV with us is a problem because everything is on her phone, on her laptop.
Device.
You understand?
Yes,
So
yes.
that family time is lost. You go out for dinner or you are eating dinner in your house and somebody is with phone pressing. So in my house, family times, no phone.
Yes.
Keep away your phones. Let us bond as family. Discuss your day, what you're
Of
doing.
course.
Interact with each other.
And all of this starts from the home. So having that rule is good because I do know many families may not have like a said rule, but once you speak it out, then they also want to be a part of that conversation and enjoy the sharing and community together.
Yeah, it's true. We really have a lot to do in that space because many people are so, or many families are so disintegrated
Yes.
that I wonder what my daughter's family would be like if now, and then when you call her, she's like, you were disturbing me. You know, she carries her food, she's
Yes.
running to her room. I say, no, we don't do that anymore. All of us will come to the table.
Yes.
We'll have a set time, at least one meal a day, dinner.
Yes.
Breakfast, everybody is running helter-skelter, but dinner, all of us come back. 7:30, you have your dinner. Then you go to bed. And then luckily for me, even where she did her, they're doing her, what they call it now, youth service. They close by 4. So by 5:30, she's home. The two of us will stay in the kitchen, we'll prepare the food together.
Yes.
We serve the food together. My husband will come, we'll eat together. You know, so it helps. So the families should actually start having home gardens.
Yes.
And then from your home garden, there's no such joy as eating what
You have grown. I know.
You know, your okra.
It's a joy.
You make okra soup with okra that is from your farm.
In fact,
with
it's
viogo.
sweeter than
Because it is
the
fresh.
outside.
It is so fresh. You can feel the softness of those things. You know,
Yes.
they are supple, they are succulent. Unlike the one that you don't know for how long it's been plucked in the market.
And stayed. Yes.
You know.
And the ironic thing is, many children would be very open to have their hands in the garden.
Definitely.
Because right now, some children are just not getting dirt on their hands,
No,
dirt
they
on their
don't know
feet.
what it is all about. The other day, my nephew was like, let's go inside, it's raining. And I'm like, can I ask a question? Have you ever walked through rain? Have you ever let rain beat you? You know, enjoy the splatter of the rain water on your body, you know, as it touches your skin. I don't know. All those things are all gone. It's amazing.
So I think as parents, the more that we emphasize, the more that we do these things ourselves and engage our children in it, set some laws, some rules. We're the ones that pay the bills, so this is how it will be.
Exactly.
And of course, yes, they have their time to be on their phone, but there's also a time to be with the family.
The only thing is that as they grow, because my children, they know when they were much younger in secondary school, of course, you don't go to school with your phones. You submit your phone.
Yes.
Then because then we'll go to bed by 8:30 to fall asleep by 9. Or we would always do bedtime stories. So by 8 o'clock, you're submitting your phone so that you will have time to process and get your body ready for bed. 8:30, you're in your room. 8:30, I come in, we read bedtime stories, you go to bed. You know, you sleep. 9 o'clock, I've left you guys to sleep. And you dare not be awake when I come back at 9:30. You know?
Okay. I've been listening to all of you and I'm really touched. But I must say, there's a lot that the parents are not doing.
Definitely.
That's why we say we must intervene when the women have finished talking after almost 1.5 hours. Yes?
Oh, really?
No, about 1 hour. Not even up to. But you see, you've touched our hearts. So me, I'm a father. Many times over. But I'm worried. Because the children we bring up today are not the children we're supposed to, because we have no relationship with them. no link with them. When I see Dr. and Mrs. Ijewere, and I see their children, I'm envious. I would love our parents. I thought they would phone in so that they can tell us what their problem really is. There's a lot of living in denial.
Yeah.
And why that is the case is what I don't know. So, Doctor, you've been dealing with a lot of parents and adults and old people, Dr. Patrick, people like me, So, what do you think is the problem?
Uncle Sonny, it's multifaceted. There's one aspect as to what the parents look up to as the models of parenthood. We've been raised in a larger community setting where we're disregarding the ancients, we're disregarding the ancestral knowledge, we're disregarding what our parents were taught by their grandparents. I mean, today I cherish that I saw and spent time with my great-grandmother, and I saw her do things that just imprinted in my memory. Children of today, parents of today, many of them are actually, maybe psychologically, they're in a battle where for many years they've been taught to disregard what maybe they had seen, and now they're seeing that those things of nature, those things that they did naturally, are actually the better option. Maybe they're in that space where they're in that battlefield, that mindset battlefield. Do I give up what I've taught my children in the early years? Don't speak a native language. Don't go out in the rain. Do all these things, and now we're seeing that they're disconnected from us, and now trying to bring back. Okay, go out in the rain. Okay, eat with your hands. Okay, make sure you respect your elders. In so many facets. Okay, you can walk barefooted.
That's a big one, because walking barefooted,
You're teaching me that already. They made me walk barefoot.
The grandmas would be like, put on your shoes, you might get warm under your feet. Like, wow, okay.
Disregarding the cultural cues. For instance, in many ancient cultures, here in Africa also, at least 6 months before a young lady gets married, she goes to, quote unquote, a marriage training, family training program.
Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. It's seen as a primitive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in that space of time, so much is taught, ranging from nutrition to how you relate to your husband, to relate to the larger family, as you've now crossed this new space of not just womanhood, but also motherhood.
I think at some point you shared about the men going to...
I mean, in many parts of Africa also, there was the initiation, where men will be taken out into the woods or to the mountains for days, for weeks. In parts of not Cote d'Ivoire, in parts of Burkina Faso, it still happens. In fact, there's a gentleman online by name Malidome Some. There's a book written by Kamara Laye from the Sengambe area, where they go into the details of what happened in their initiation. Because we have seen, quote unquote, the Western, or been trained to see the Western as better or as more advanced or more modern, and everything we were taught as primitive. Even those nuggets that helped us in the family continuity, the family bonding, that also helped our immune systems. Just having dinner together brings the immune system together. Walking barefooted, gardening, putting your hand in the dirt, children don't do today, improves your immune ability. All those things that we've been sadly trained to disregard or disrespect or even disconnect from have turned us into, let me even say, subhumans.
Well, before you get to that very serious, very serious definitive side, let me look at parents, single parents. There are more single parents now than there were in our time. And I'll give you an experience from a PTA, Teachers Association meeting, where a mother came with her daughter. No, she came alone. Her daughter was in school, and she complained that her daughter was not being treated well. She was shabbily dressed, with her trousers. I don't know whether it's trousers. Whatever she was wearing, the panties were showing more than the, excuse my language, but we that were inside the hall, there were just 3 men out of about 12 other women, 3 men, that's 15 of us. She didn't leave any good example to any of us. Not the women, not the men. But she was the one that fought for her daughter. And what was her reason? That the daughter complained that she was not being treated well in school. It was one of the men that told her that, look, you are not living by example. Look at the way you're dressed. You're fighting for your daughter. What do you think the daughter merited for her to be, not well treated? She just kept quiet. Single parent. She was a single mother at that time. What I do not know is if men and women cannot cohabit, their children will suffer. So what happens when a mother is alone with her child or children and cannot show any better example than she knows? Those things, don't you think it will affect them mentally and maybe emotionally and medically?
Definitely, it would. Unfortunately, most of us these days, we are talking about this lady most likely was underdressed, and it's so sad that it's like the norm these days. If I tell my I have one daughter, and for me she's the most precious thing, and I tell her, have you ever seen me dressed in a way that is not good? Sometimes I actually let her express herself. We went for a wedding. Her friend's sister was getting married, and she got on this dress that they had as Ashwebi. And I looked at her, I was like, my dear, your mother does not approve of this dress. Like, that's what everybody's wearing. It's okay.
Everybody.
I went to the wedding with her because I like to do things with her. And then there, I could see that she was very uncomfortable. Most uncomfortable. She was like, Mommy, can you give me your scarf so I can cover
Was this before you?
At the wedding.
Okay.
So I was like, I gave her the, as I said, I wouldn't say anything to her. So she covered herself. And then when we got home, I said to her, why did you ask for that my scarf? That's like people were looking at her in a funny way. I was like, okay, I told you. But you see, some of us don't even want or have somebody to talk to them. And then some of them feel that, and if you see these days, that's the norm, to be as naked as you possibly can. The parents need to sit up. You need to know what your children are doing.
So they should live by example.
They should live by example. And then and talk to them. Let me tell you.
Yeah, okay.
One of my friend's sister does not go into her children's Instagram account or whatever. How can you? And then I blocked one of her sons because what he was saying and doing in those accounts was, for me, it's an insult to me looking at it. So I blocked him. I told him, how can you sit down and you are seeing that she does not go into it though? And the boy actually blocked her from seeing his post. So he knows that what he's doing is wrong. If you are, like I said, you need to get into your children. Be a nuisance. That one day they will thank you for it. But if you do, I don't care attitude, this story of these days, of course you will talk. I cannot beat my 21, 22, 23-year-old child, but I can still talk and communicate. And because we have been communicating, she knows when I'm not. Like these days they say, in our own time, your mother can talk to you with her eyes. But these days, the mothers don't talk to their children with their eyes. My daughter knows if she do, and I look at her. Okay.
I'm going to bring you in. Sorry, can you give your name again, please? Sorry.
Phoebe.
Phoebe, yes.
Yes.
Let me bring Phoebe in because you are the only one here who is not one of us. Forgive my language.
She's married to one of us, so she's one of us.
She's an American.
But she's married to a Nigerian, so she's a Nigerian.
Yes,
Oh, Niger babe.
Niger wife.
Okay. You're welcome. So, right. Can you just sort of share with us your background in terms of what we've been discussing all day?
Yes. Well, there's a number of things. I think what we're talking about right now is quite fascinating because so much of it has to do with cultural ties, right? And interestingly, I was having a conversation with someone just the other day about this whole westernization journey that we're on, whether you would want to call it capitalistic, if it's colonial, whatever label you put on it. I think we still don't understand how damaging that is actually. Even for Western or white people, we used to have traditions and heritages. We spoke different languages, and now it's one collective white experience. That hasn't helped anyone. It's really damaged, our family roots as well, but I think it's also damaged our understanding of how genders work together as well.
It's the same thing happening in Africa. I must let you know that. Please go ahead.
Yes, exactly. I think even since I've moved to Lagos, I've really started to understand it on a deeper level, even in the context of living in a massive city that's very focused on societal progress in terms of capitalization and creating products out of people almost. And I think we have to also understand that we should try to be on the same team here. Even when we're talking about single mothers, for example, we also have to look back on what caused all of these things. Young people aren't the way they are for no reason. I'm sure when millennials were young, their parents said, "Oh, this, that, why do they act this way?" Those same parents, their parents said the same thing. Why does my child act this way? It shouldn't be like that. We should look at what's causing those things. Precisely. And try to work together to solve those problems. I think we have the same issue between men and women when it comes to parenting, or even couples as well. We're not looking at how we're functioning as one team together. Each of us have a different role to play, right? So even as we're telling young women to dress a certain way, act a certain way, we need to be telling young men the same exact things, teaching them respect. I think that is truly what is damaging culture, as well as men and women aren't learning from a young age how to properly interact with each other and support each other. Aside from that, my background is within the art space as well, but I'm a huge advocate for intercultural relations as well. And so that's kind of how I found myself on this journey for the Children's Art Gallery. My own experience as a child was pretty unique to the arts in the sense that I discovered my passion for art from a pretty young age, around 10 years old. Most of my childhood memories are centered around some type of arts and crafts. My parents were really supportive of that as well. But by the time I reached 18 years old, I didn't really see a feasible career path in the arts. So I ended up pursuing something else, and just in recent years...
You're indirectly saying you were a bit confused at that age, right?
Oh, definitely. I think most people are. But also at that age you have a very big ego as well. You think you're the next best thing that the world has. But yeah, after a number of years I finally came back to the arts as well. I've mostly been working in the non-for-profit sector, and so when I met the co-founder of the gallery, we came together with our different areas of interest and expertise. My area is interest in art as well as non-for-profit work, but we set the gallery up as a social enterprise because we were looking to really be sustainable as possible. So in working with in the NGO space for a number of years, I realized it all comes back to funding most of the time, and as well as staff being under-resourced.
Okay. Well, Madam Dr. Nneka, sorry, I have to call you by your first name, right? Nwobbi, right?
Any which way.
Okay. You are a mother, you're a doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Patrick, you're a father, you're a doctor. Dr. Sherese, I have to call you doctor, please. She's my doctor, by the way. You're a wellness expert. Now, look at all of these things we've been discussing. Why should children have cancer in the first place? Big question for me. Because in an African setting, it's not something that is very common. It wasn't before. I don't know about now, But I do know that I'm hearing that a lot of things are happening, that more children are beginning to have cancer. Why?
Is it only children? How about the adults?
No, the adults we know, but why children?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the change in most things have been so profound that the adults' cancer is on the increase. You know, practically every family will have somebody that they know that, you know, have
Is it
cancer.
something to do with what we ingest, what we eat?
Like Dr. Ijewere will say, the 5 pillars of health, are they all, you know, being met? If they're not all being met, then what is happening? You know, I'm in a book club, and what we do is we are basically, I think we are more doctors, maybe 60% doctors and 40% non-doctors, and each of the books that we have read have to do with health. The first we read was on cancer, and it has 10 things that one need to do correctly, because what they did was to talk to people who have survived cancer. Nutrition is a very, very big part. The environment is another thing.
Environment, when you say environment, like what? Nutrition, I understand, but environment.
Where you live, what you do, what you take in, even what comes on your skin. You understand? So, I used to live in Antony Village, and every day I see like a foggy kind of atmosphere just beyond where we were staying, and I kept wondering to myself, what is in that place that is making the place foggy? You know, at the end of the day, somebody, I think a church bought that land, and inside were, you know, fumes coming from there, and of course all of us have been inhaling whatever fume is there.
God.
You know, at a point in Lutz, we were getting children from Festac. I think we had about 6 children from Festac, and 4 of them in the ward, and 4 of them were from Festac. So unfortunately, we're not a research-oriented community, because if we were, and if we had the funding, somebody should have investigated to find out why these people from this particular area were coming down with leukemia. So that is still the environment. You understand? So, and then of course, so many things would tell you that it's not as if they know what can cause cancer in a person. And then when you look at all the pillars of health, of life, not even just health, of life, you know, are these being met? If they're not being met, what can be done to meet them? Because it's not just a child that is born, but then how did the parents, the father and the mother, live? What have gone wrong even before the child was conceived? What have gone wrong in their system? The egg and the sperm that came together, are they perfect? What changes, what genetic changes, mutations have happened? You know?
Wow, sorry, Dr. Patrick, pillars of life, and what was it again? 5 pillars of life, right? Or what?
Yes. We said the pillars of wellness.
Wellness, okay, all right. By the way, we've been on wellness half hour to 1 hour. Now it's Soni Irabor live wellness to 1 hour. So please, we're not leaving this because it's a very serious issue. Okay, what are the 5 pillars of wellness?
Spirituality,
mindset,
how we program the mind.
That's a new vocabulary, you know, mindset. Every which way I go, they say mindset. I don't know what that means, but please go ahead.
The mind is a foreman of the factory. As this is programmed, the body follows or flows.
Okay.
Then the 3rd is nutrition, what we put in the body. The 4th is our lifestyle, which includes our daily routines, ranging from our sleeping habits to our fitness activities to the chemicals that we pour on ourselves, what we call cosmetics or we call creams, even to the space we sleep in, like you said. If there's chemicals coming in around,
yes, nobody's questioning it, by the way.
And then the environment. One of the biggest things we've done today is run away from the environment. We have become indoor creatures, whereas health is outdoors. When you look, if you go back to the late 1700s, early 1800s, there were hospitals that every day they took the patients outside. We think of the sun only as vitamin D. It's much more than vitamin D.
Okay.
Your sleep cycle is regulated by the sun. Early morning sun regulates your circadian rhythm, which is a huge component to dialing your immune system. But today, we don't run away from the sun. Then my colleagues who are dermatologists say, go and put sunscreen, chemicals on your body to avoid...
To block.
Thank you. So environmentally, we're doing things that are undermining what God's perfection gave us. Fresh air. We don't get fresh air today. If you're lucky to be maybe by a lagoon or whatever, you may get some fresh air, but otherwise, our air is full of lead. Lead from where? Our cars are generators. NNPC is bringing in this highly polluted petrol that is selling to the gas stations, and we emit it into the air.
Oh my God.
You find adults and children who have high levels of lead in their system.
Yeah.
Environmentally, sun, fresh air. Okay, let's look at water. What are we doing to our water bodies? Someone has taught us to throw in chlorine and throw in fluoride into the water. If you look at the health profile, chemical profile of those chemicals, there are better ways to cleanse your water than throwing in chlorine and fluoride. Those things are damaging to the body. From brain to thyroid to endocrine function. Now, let's look at it on that perspective that's historical. US childhood cancers began to rise in the late 1800s, early 1900s, with the era of, number one, industrialization. Number two, supermarketization.
Oh.
Which means processing of foods. In fact, there's some studies that say
supermarketization.
Yes, because what do you have there? 90% is processed foods. Foods that have been denatured, have lost a lot of their nutrients. So we're eating foods that are nutrient deficient. How do you expect the body to perform optimally? It cannot. It cannot. And we have doctors like Dr. Gersons and others who have shown that you can reverse these ailments by giving people full natural food, putting them in clean environments.
We're depleting our plants now.
Yeah,
the plants are the ones that are supposed to give us natural food, organic food, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm hearing GMO these days.
Which is turn around with our genetics. Dr. Nwobbi has said, go back to the basics. Start even your own home garden. Put your hands in the soil. Walk in the earth. Plant it, grow it. That activity, being in nature, has tremendous impact on your health and well-being.
Well, sorry, let me drag Phoebe back into this. From wellness to therapy. You paint. Yellow, green, red, brown, blue sky, everything. I'm getting some picture in my head. But the green is most important to me. So, what would you advise as somebody who wants his mind to be therapeutically put well together as an artist?
That's a big question. I mean, I think art is really for everyone. It's probably the most or the least what would I say? The least elite thing out there. Like, art is anything. If a child doesn't have paint to paint with, they can draw in the dirt. You know what I mean? I think people were made to create things and to do things, right? I think it's got almost the same benefits as we're talking about getting your hands in the soil and gardening. Just using your mind to create and to imagine and invent. I think that truly will make a much better world. So even what we're advocating for is for children to have access to spaces to create things. And my hope is someday that because we're giving children the space to imagine and create and invent, it's also a space for them to process what's wrong with the world and how can I make the world a better place. And even aside from that, I think it's quite key that people who are in positions of power start to look at these things and create policies around those things.
People who are in positions of power, who are they?
Who are they?
Dr. Nneka, who are they?
The government, the people.
How?
It's us, it's parents.
No. Yes. Did you say the people, the government?
Yeah.
And you said you whispered something.
The parents.
The parents.
Yes. Power is not
Who are they, Phoebe?
I would agree, actually. I mean, children are the most vulnerable population.
Yeah.
They don't have power or necessarily free will to make empowered decisions about their lives. It's up to the people who are in charge of them, whether it's their parents or the governing body. And I think also, we have to use what we have to work with. We can't constantly blame things on the government ourselves, right? There's only so much we can do to change.
We have anything to work with.
you have yourself to work with. For example, a parent can fully make a choice that better supports their child, right? For example, if you drink sachet water, pure water, we know now that the sun exposing the water to the plastic is very harmful. It leaches chemicals into the water.
Many people do not want to hear that.
Because people don't believe it, right?
Yes, because they don't have water anyway. Pipe-borne water is not available, so they just think somebody is helping them. Am I being very difficult or crazy? I don't know.
No. It's a reality we have to face. Yeah, it's something that we have to face.
So, Dr. Sherese, I think I should bring you back in because this is a very serious issue. Because you're very strict with your children. You're strict with the people you also come to your wellness place, Carib Health. You know, you make me walk on gravel, you and your husband. And they used to hit. No, they used to hurt me. But now they make me feel good.
Yes.
Yeah, but why? How come you could not? I would like to believe that there's nothing for me to run away from. But just say, yes, you're trying to help me. But if I go to the public tells me, no, you're denying me my rights. I want to drink that sachet water.
Yes. And what we
and it's
say...
injurious to the health.
Yes. What we say to that is, really, as we educate, we inform, health is by choice. So even though we know that, yes, this is good for you. Does
that mean smokers are liable to die young is by choice? That's what you're saying. But that doesn't help anybody.
Right. So it's their choice, their decision, even though they know that this is not good for them. You know how you have the saying, you can bring a horse to the stream, you can't force them to drink? Yes.
This is serious too. Sorry, ma'am, but we are... Well, by the way, if you want to call us, and I think this is the right time to call you now to call us, 0700 923 923 923. And then messages on WhatsApp, 0817-313-6193. How good a parent are you, and how good a child are you to your parents? That's the way to look at it from here. Okay? Call us.
And I think, Uncle Sonny, when we as parents make things fun, not it being a chore, but make things fun, have a little, I used to say to our children, it's craft time or it's activity time. So and they would be excited. Them. Yes. Yeah. And, you know, after they finish one activity, they ask, what's the next one that we're doing?
So get them interested.
Get them interested, get them involved.
You know, when my kids were growing up, during holidays, holidays, you're resting from work, from school work, but then you still have to have a structured life. Because if you don't have structure in your life, I don't know where you're going to be. So we'll have timetable, you know, and then we'll have, you know, activities for different days.
Yes.
We'll have painting, we'll have bead making, we'll have, you know, so more often than not, I have children, not just my two, but my neighbor's children come to join us. And when they do come to join, it's even more fun.
Yes.
And then something like cooking. I don't cook alone. I'm not anybody's chef. You have to learn how to, you know, make some food for yourself, at least the basic things.
Yes.
You know, so my two, I have a boy and a girl, they are in the kitchen, you know, and you learn how to. Unfortunately, some men like my husband do not believe that boys should be in the kitchen. So I had that issue with him, you know. And then when my son went to university in Germany, the poor boy was lost and will call me, Mommy, I want to make okra soup today. What am I going to do?
Okay, sorry, I have a message from WhatsApp. Good afternoon, Mr. Soni. Indeed. And all your great guests in the studios and the doctors in the house. Okay. I agree with Dr. Ijewere on the 5 pillars of wellness. To conclude my contribution, here I use coconut oil. I made myself as my skin cream, nothing else, but I question why and how. Sometimes I even ask and think of what type of water do we drink and have here in Lagos? Dr. Ijewere, this one is for you. Because even I cannot answer that question.
What type of water do we drink here in Lagos?
Right. Is it hard water?
It depends on what part of town you are and the source of the water.
I lived in Lekki, and I've been living in Lekki since 2008, and I've been digging my water from the ground about 150 feet, they said. I know it's not true.
And then
but I didn't measure it.
You then subsequently treat the water before you...
I treated and I stopped. So I only buy Seaway. Now I'm advertising them here.
All right, let's take a step back.
Okay.
What was the water that God gave us originally?
Fresh water.
Fresh water.
Rainwater.
Because the ocean water is there, far away.
Okay. Rainwater, spring water.
Rainwater, yes.
I recall. Notice I always go back to my great-grandparents.
Yeah.
They only drank water from the stream, and they always poured it into their clay pot. That was their only treatment, and they drank it. And that woman got to over 120. So
120 years
when she transitioned.
Ooh.
Let's always go back to what did God create for us originally? What did nature give us originally? And how far or how close are we to that source? If your water is, you can get stream water, spring water straight from the source, or find a company that does that for you. You have probably
Do we have companies that do spring water?
Yes, sir.
We do. Can you actually generate spring water by yourself?
If you live in a geographic area that has a natural spring, and we have several springs. Even in Lagos, we have springs. Ekpe, Ikorodu, Badagry. We have springs.
Okay.
There's some parts of Ekpe you go to.
Awareness is another issue, really.
The parts of Ekpe you go to, Uncle Soni, you see the water. What it's small, crystal clear. You know it's coming from a rock spring source. It's just in the southwest. Because I've been to quite a bit in the southwest. There's so many natural springs. There's a brand that brings it straight from a place where, Uncle Soni, if you go to the spring, hot, other side is cold, less than 100 meters apart.
Ikogosi, right?
Yes.
Bingo.
Yeah, I've been there. That's true. What created that, by the way? Did anybody even find out? Have you heard of Ikogosi water spring?
Yes, actually, I have.
Hot one side, cold one side. The same spring. Nature is at work.
Yes.
And we just ignore nature.
So number one is the source. Let it be as close to a natural source. If you can get it directly, get somebody who gets it from that source. Number two, what kind of container are we putting the water in? We better address the issue of plastics. I won't even go there.
No, I like the way Phoebe mentioned the plastic thing because it's very big for us in Lagos. Serious.
What are we doing before plastic?
Our clay pot.
We had clay pots.
Glass.
I grew up with clay pot. They said another lesson here.
We had tin buckets. We had glass bottles.
Okay, somebody's advertising Lasena water. Is a spring water, he says. I'm not advertising though. He said I'm not. Okay, well, actually, I haven't said it. I mean, I'm going to go to Lasena to get them to come and advertise here because I even drink them. Yeah. So,
once water comes out of the earth in an industrial or commercial, large urban setting, they ask what is done to the water before it enters the pipes. If the pipes are very old pipes, there's another problem that those pipes create into the water.
Yeah.
You go online, you see documentaries of old cities in the US and the UK where they are removing the water pipes from the ground. How corroded those pipes are.
That way they get something like salmonella.
Not just the microbes, but just the heavy metal deposits that have occurred inside those pipes that are 50 to 100 years old. So when you see those pipes, you just imagine blood vessels being like that. So, large-scale commercial, large-scale urban operations, where's the water coming from? How deep in the ground? What's been done to treat the water? What's added to the water? Whether it's the chlorine byproducts or the fluoride and byproducts, which are also troublesome.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to the whole essence of this conversation. A medical doctor, cancer in children. Very tough. I can't think of it. Scares me. I used to watch movies where, they show children with skinheads because of leukemia. People made movies from such stories, and it was so powerful. So why are we making that mistake? And those movies are more than 40 years old. Why are we not learning from those mistakes? That's what I don't understand.
Those movies, were they done with Caucasian children or with African Nigerian children?
Okay.
That's
Caucasian.
a big point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because even the
cast.
the research that we had done, I think that was 2015 here in Lagos. Out of 10 parents who came in with their child, having cancer, 9 had not heard of childhood cancers. The one who would have heard thought it didn't happen to black children because the movie he saw or she saw was on a Caucasian child.
Whoa.
So the most Nigerians that don't know that children can have cancer, and the ones who know think that it doesn't happen to black children.
It's a very serious one.
Yeah.
But what about the things we drink? Are we demarketing anybody if we try to say we want to mention
See,
soft drinks, for example?
Absolutely.
Sugar.
So one is
Sugar.
sometimes our consumers are not aware. The adverts that go out are bright, they're catchy,
Yeah.
they're showing fun, they're showing young people, they're showing this is how you want to be. So if you want to be this way, be hip, be hype, drink this. So nobody is looking at the ingredients. The ingredients are there, and the manufacturers have to put what's in that particular item. They have to list it out, the sugars, the ingredients itself. It's all there, but we're not looking.
A lot of false advertising as well. If a product says it gives you energy, it's not a good thing.
Because it doesn't give energy, does it?
it does
it's a
kill.
quick-
It's
energy.
misleading, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So what would you advise? Some of us have agencies that do advertising for these clients. So what do you advise them? There has to be some responsibility to the people you serve, don't you think?
Yeah, but then they say charity begins at home.
Yes.
You that want to consume that, read what is on the label. If you read the label, you are most likely going to get the right direction of what to do. Especially if okay, like for instance, I don't want added sugar in whatever I'm taking, or I don't want sweeteners, even though I don't want sugar. Let the sugar come natural, fructose and all those things. So if I read my label and I'm seeing that although sometimes those labels actually do lie too.
Yes.
But then if you can catch it and know that there's a lie, then you can take them on.
And what we do is educate the community, we educate schools, we will even go in and give a practical example. So whether it's a sugar demo, and we'll bring out the different list of soft drinks, or maybe it's juices that are quite popular that children love.
Yeah.
And we will have the children look and do the math on the back, count the sugar cubes, ask them, would you drink this? And of course everybody's like, no.
But they don't know.
They don't know.
But you know what? Children are so smart that once they realize this is what it is, they will
They
go
avoid
home and educate their parents. And even the parents will say, no, it's okay. They will say, Mom, it's not okay.
It's not okay, yeah.
Remember, this is what is in there. We cannot drink it.
I can't help but ask both of you, our guests, your experiences when you talk to somebody who doesn't believe in what you're saying.
It's
Dr.
difficult. It's very, very difficult changing mindsets.
Thank you.
know?
You brought the thing back. Mindset.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the mind is already set that okay, this is what it's going to be. I mean, so you have to try to shift that mindset to what the right thing is. One of my young in-law at the walk last Saturday, the daughter came to me, really like this, and then
Took
the crown. I was like, what is going on? So I said to her, take this child to the dentist. He's no longer paining her.
What?
And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm not asking. I'm telling you, take this child to the dentist. You know, auntie. Okay, so why wouldn't you take her? And then, even as we were talking, there was a child. I don't take soft drink. There was a child, you know, taking soft drink. The whole mouth was red. She and her junior brother, you know, and I'm like, I've told
and they
you.
were enjoying it temporarily.
In my language, they will say, you can. There's no person that you put sugar in the person's mouth, the person will spit it out. Sugar is sweet. So.
Oh my God. More messages are coming in, so let me quickly read this again. Uncle Soni, what is the alternative lines to call in apart from okay, please, I don't know, actually, yeah, I was wondering why calls were not coming in. 0700 923 923 923. Okay, I'll tell you in a moment, please. And which isn't allowed where I call. Okay, it's from your problem actually, your Android phone. Okay, see. All right. I don't know what the second number is, but the engineer real one is here. 0700 923 923 923 or 0814. What's that?
000.
000.
4 zeros.
Yes, 4 zeros.
Okay, quadruple 0. That's 0000 923. Okay, 0814 0000 923. Can you please call us on that? If the 0700 is not connected, that explains why people did not call earlier on. Please call us. We'll take your call. Thank you for sending that message. Where were we? Mindset. Who can define mindset? Biko, I beg you. Doctor is running away. Okay. Dr. Sherese, yes?
Well, mindset. It's the sum total of the programming that occurs right from the time the child is in the womb into our adulthood. It's a spectrum, it's a continuous flow. We can influence it in the direction we want it to go. So if you believe you are not good in math and you encounter a professor who really teaches it to you in such a simplistic way, who I'm very good at it, now your mindset is that, darn, I'm good at math. So mindset is a flow.
So it has an advantage and has a disadvantage.
It has only advantage.
Advantage?
It can be molded.
Okay.
For the outcomes you desire.
Oh, mindset.
I mean,
I want to believe that when my daughter talks to me about mindset, and my wife talks to me about mindset, and my son says that mindset doesn't work, what do I do? Because they're adults.
It depends on the context. Because even they are talking from their own mindset. And maybe the bias in perspective at that point where they're in their life causes them to be in a box where what is coming at them based on their mindset is seeing your mindset as being the flaw or the fault. Whereas may not necessarily be. Another adult of their age may have a totally different mindset and talk to you that what you're doing actually makes sense. So,
okay. 0814 0000 923. Okay, I think I remember that now. 0814 0000 923. Call us and we'll take your call. We've had these people, oh my goodness, we've kept them for almost 2 hours. Please, there's no need for any, don't be annoyed though. Eh? Madam?
I'm enjoying it.
You're enjoying it?
Yeah.
Thank God. You too?
Yes, very much.
Okay,
yeah.
I will show you my painting. And I'm sure you're going to laugh at me because I had big head with big eyes, and my son said that looks like UFO.
Oh.
You know, but let's face it. Is it? Sorry? There's a call? Okay. Let's face it. Where do we, as Africans and Nigerians, where do we get our originality from if we're not depending on, I'm sorry, United States Information Service? There's so much information coming out of Hollywood, music, acting and all of that thing, but they are all American based.
Yeah, but before it used to be UK based.
No, UK is in between.
Before, maybe
before we were born.
I guess that is the spoiling of what when I say UK based. Even before the slave trade and all that, we had things that were
purely African functioning.
Here,
yes.
Our medicines were functional. Everything that we were doing based on what we know, what we learned, who we were.
And then there was the problem we have today about medical problems, pharmaceutical problems. We didn't have them those days.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't. And then because more or less, I know that most things have side effects. The chemotherapy that one uses have side effects. The what they call it, the radiotherapy has its own side effects. But then we were treating, and then mostly plant-based, and those plant-based, the side effects won't have been that much.
Okay.
Even
Sorry,
me myself.
Another message has just come in. Said that number says not available. I'm sorry, I have to say that openly. That means there's something wrong with us. Engineer, see to that, please. In the meantime, you can actually call us on 0817-313-6193 or just send an audio message through 0817-313-6193 and we'll play it back. Or just send us message, WhatsApp, okay? Yeah. I didn't mean to stop you there.
No.
I'm sorry.
And unfortunately, we didn't have continuity. Just like Dr. Ijewere said, we thought that the Oyinbo system was better than ours. I remember in secondary school, we were not allowed to speak vernacular. If you speak vernacular,
Okay.
either you're
I was a
beaten
victim of that.
or you pay a fine. Why wouldn't I speak my language? And then because of that, you see children,
So it affects us
because
psychologically.
they don't even speak the language.
But there's a problem. The English will say router for this thing now that the Americans call router. But there is a problem. Route is a direction, right? Route is to destroy or defeat. So why would Americans now tell me, sorry, Phoebe, this is over to you. Route. So I'm going to UK, I'm going to New York, so my route is Lagos, New York, the route, directly, yeah? But the British will say, I'm going to New York, my route is Lagos, New York. Then this router, who is supposed to be a router, is now saying, I have to route it, right? But when the Romans came with their empire, they fought and they routed their enemies. They defeated them. So what are we against?
This is another very complex.
This one has moved from.
No, but I think, I mean, the United States has its own very complex history with colonization as well, right? I think something I've realized since moving to Nigeria specifically is what the U.S. did when it broke free from the United Kingdom.
Yes.
We're a very stubborn group of people. So we said, we have to go our own direction. We're going to spell our English words differently. We'll drink coffee instead of tea. We did a lot of very practical things to even shut down trade with the UK as well. And it's perplexed me actually since moving to Nigeria how closely tied the country still is to the UK actually.
Because
and of course
we're their colony.
Yes, and of course the history is still very short. We're a young country here actually compared to most countries, so we're still figuring things out in essence. But even since moving here, I've heard many people say, life was better quality back then under colonial rule, and we wish times were still like that.
I don't
Now that's a
wish
very flawed sense of thinking. That's
Yes.
only looking at one small perspective. But there's something to be said for breaking completely free from a system that doesn't serve you, right? I think there's still a lot of systems for things in Nigeria that rely on something that was built on a very poor foundation in the first place.
Dr. Nwobbi, what do you have to say to that? Thank you. Spot on. Right.
Well, I think what Phoebe said, is very true, and for me, it is so regrettable because there are things that we have here that is not available, with the West. Let's take something like sickle cell anemia. It's not their problem.
It's an African problem.
Yes, and then the treatment, they brought their own treatment, which for me is not functional. The bloodletting and blood transfusion and all that. We used to treat sickle cell anemia here.
Our own way.
Herbs.
Yes.
And, we learned how to make blood, make our body produce more blood from the things that we ingest.
Okay.
You see, all that had been lost because there were no documentation, because we were more or less brainwashed to think that orthodox medicine was the best and only thing that should be followed. It is only now that we're going back, and then going back, there are no written things to say this is how it should be done. So, and then unfortunately, most of the people who practice that are either late or did not pass it down to their followers or children.
Yeah.
Which is quite unfortunate.
Sorry, somebody just sent an audio message. I want to see how can we put it out here, please. Most of this is
Soni.
Yes, sir.
My name is Alex O, and I want to greet Dr. Patrick Ijewere and the other doctors as well, and the guests in the studio.
Okay.
Actually, I am so touched concerning the cancer issue, and it got me so worried hearing about children nowadays having this kind of thing, and this shouldn't be. Like doctor said, we are forgetting things that our grandparents were using to live long. My grandma lived up to 125 before she died.
Wow.
You understand? But now we have people dying at the age of 20, 18, 60. And we should be worried. And why I'm sending this, because I discovered, because that's one thing doctor made me to understand. We lack this research attitude in this country because there's no fund. And that is the part government is not really doing well, sincerely. Now, I read an article concerning, mercury being discovered in humans. And how did we get that? It is through water we drink. And this GMO that they keep talking about is something I'm also worried about, because actually, let me say, I'm visually challenged. But all these things, gets me worried, because I am very careful of what I put in my mouth. You understand? Because like Patrick Ijewere have said it, the 5 pillars of wellness is very, very key. And parents need to start teaching our children nowadays. This age we are in now, that is technology. Yes, it's good, but we have to curtail it, because children are only at, the phone is now their parents. Because parents are not taking the responsibility of making sure they minimize those kind of stuff. I just want to say that, sir. And what I'm concerned, because that's why I sent that question. What kind of water are we drinking here in Lagos? I remember our parents, they used to drink this muddy kind of water. There's a way they may be joking, and they use alum and all those things. They put it in clay pots, like Dr. Ijewere said. Thank you, sir. I pray we'll get it back.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
Thank you. This is very, very helpful. See, well, necessity is the mother of invention. So, Dr. Patrick, you see, I don't call you Dr. Ijewere Joe. So, I mean, I can imagine how this whole thing is coming up. If we get more calls, we would have received a lot of reactions to what most of you were saying. My message out there really is, thank you, Dr. Alexo. I called you doctor, don't worry, you may be visually impaired, but that doesn't mean anything except that you are a survivor. And I'm proud of you, and I'm happy that you took part in this program in such a way that, honestly, without you, this program would not have had the coloration it got just now. So, Alexo, thank you. One up for you. And yes, Dr. Patrick, there's a way you do your water in the anytime you come to your clinic. What is that? Is it what's it called? Yes. What's the water?
In the clay pot?
Yes, clay pot. Thank you. See, I'm so denied because that was how my parents brought me up. Clay pot water pot. That's what they call them those days. Yes. What is the value of that? The water from the clay pot.
All right. From the chemistry perspective, the clay literally attracts microbes.
Okay.
So whether it's the bacteria in the water, it's the fungi in the water, the clay seems to attract them and inactivate them. So it's a way of sterilizing the water, number one.
Ooh. Ooh.
Number two, clay is made from the earth. So you have a lot of micronutrients or minerals that are in the clay, which over time will slowly leach or dissolve into the water. Things like magnesium, phosphorus, even some zinc, which in micro amounts the body benefits from. So it's also adding certain value to the water. Number three, clay confers alkalinity to the water. If you leave water in clay long enough, it will gradually bring it into an alkaline state. And the body itself by nature is alkaline.
So, as a layman, what can I do to create that kind of water system in my house? Can I have a clay pot?
Yes, Uncle Soni. And there are many villages where they still create clay pots from the natural earth.
Not the one that they sell on the streets of Lagos.
There are some legitimate
You
sources.
have to clear your throat to answer that, right? I don't know why, but please. I think it's absolutely necessary to know how to do these things.
There are actually some young men we deal with who have trained at the University of I think it's Ibadan that has a school of part of their art, the school of art in
College of Tech, I think they also have one.
And so they've brought their scientific knowledge into this traditional space where they are making the clay pots, firing them to give them durability and strength, and then they're putting in taps.
Okay.
So you can easily pour out the water, or serve the water. So this is where the ingenuity of our native people, the science that we learn in school, and the knowledge of the wisdom of the old people meet to give us beneficial contemporary products.
Somebody has sent some very fascinating posts here mentioning procrastination, elderly rights in China, and cuddling. Okay, let me read everything. Procrastination is not a result of laziness or poor time management. Scientific studies suggest procrastination is due to poor mood management. Okay. In China, there is an elderly rights law which makes it illegal for anyone who has parents over 60 not to visit them regularly.
Oh.
Interesting. Sunday facts. Then cuddling has the same effect on your brain as taking painkillers. Well, doctor, you have to respond to that one. Please, where can I get a clay pot and share a video of how to preserve water in such a place? Thank you. Thank you. I don't know who this is. You didn't even give your name, but doctor, we are getting reactions. So, yes, Dr. Sherese, I think this is yours.
the aspect of cuddling, that social bonding, physical touch. The body is the world's most under-recognized pharmaceutical industry. Simple touching can stimulate hormone production in the body. Neurotransmitters, that's chemicals in the body, like dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, can even trigger stimulation of certain pathways in the brain through the pituitary and the pineal glands. So the act of touching, of cuddling, has tremendous health benefits. Studies have been done where you feed one group of children the best, highest quality food, and you don't cuddle them or show them any kind of physical love. And in this other group, you give them minimal nutrition, but you cuddle them, you speak and interact with them in a very loving way. These children grow up physically, emotionally more stable than these ones. So the act of cuddling, that act of showing love, that physical touch, is an essential part of us being humans. And we see it in the wild with even the ways the monkeys hold their own children.
Yes, and gorillas as well.
One thing that ticks me off, Uncle Soni, is when I see mothers, parents, putting their young babies inside this pram and pushing the pram instead of wrapping them on the back.
You know what?
Phoebe is smiling though, because this is an Oyinbo design, happy? Yes. Yes, doctor.
I took my daughter, we were in the UK, she's gone for her master's, and then we had to climb, hill, so to speak, to visit her uncle. And she was like, Mommy, you mean you did all this? If you carry me up the hill and down? I said, look, that's the joy that gave me. And my babies were big babies. The brother was 4.6, she was 4.2, 4.3. So, but when you're carrying your child, you don't feel the heaviness. You don't.
No, because there's that.
Yes, that
connection.
And then we actually had a study at Lutz where not actually a study, but we noticed that some preterms, twins, they were inside a cubicle together, but because they were little, one was bigger than the other, one was thriving, so the baby was removed from the cubicle and put into another one, and then the one that was sick actually got sicker. And so somebody suggested to bring back the healthy one back into, so, and then they were now together, and you can see them touching each other, and within hours, the child started thriving, doing better. So really and truly, the human touch, cuddling, does, that is a lot of things, not just to the brain, but to the whole body.
Okay, there's something that somebody has said. Our bodies have an amazing capacity to heal and protect themselves. Okay, here are some evidence-backed ways to support your body's natural healing processes and boost resilience. Okay, thank you very much. One is sleep, 7 to 9 hours. But doctor, I know they get 7, even 5 hours sleep now. I know they get now. Abba. What do I do? Okay, there's a caller. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Uncle Soni. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. We are having problems trying to connect you to the switchboard. But speak on.
Okay, I have my son. If one person blood sugar like less than 90, and the person is above 68, is it okay for that person to take these drinks once in a while? And the BP is also okay.
I'm hearing you, but the doctor, doctor.
Uncle Soni,
yes.
Listen.
Yeah.
He's trying to justify taking fizzy drinks.
Okay.
If you love your health, simply leave fizzy drinks alone. Especially if you have high blood pressure. I think I heard you say high BP.
Yeah.
No, the person is okay. No blood pressure.
Yeah, but what? Okay. But you.
The blood pressure is okay.
Okay.
The blood sugar is okay. It's actually less than 90. It's a some random. Sorry. First blood sugar is less than 90.
Okay.
And the BP is like 110/70, and the person is above CH. So what I'm asking is it okay for that person to take this fizzy drink once in a while?
Once in a while. Fizzy drinks once in a while, in spite of the very good high blood pressure measurement. Okay. All right, we'll answer you now. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
Definitely not. It's not okay.
Doctor, now.
Okay, hello, another caller. We just have 5 minutes. Yes, sir. Go ahead. What's your name?
Uncle Soni.
Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Tunde.
Mr. Tunde, yes.
Tunde, you don't do one, but that's not what I saw. Irrespective of the water preservation, you know?
Yeah, go on.
My grandma died at the age of 135 years.
Wow.
Oh.
You know how it preserves the water with the clay stuff? It uses this, what do you call it, chaff from the palm front where they extracted oil. He would take it into the fire, he would wash the what do you call it, the charcoal pot made with clay. And then when smoke is coming out, he comes to put it on top, about 3 or 4, and that's why the drinking water will be preserved.
Okay.
And it says what it does. And when you are drinking the water, you want to finish about a gallon.
You're right about that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, so sorry, it's been very noisy and very untidy here, but anyway, it's one of those things. We have less than 2 minutes. So, Dr. Nneka,
Yes,
30 seconds. Madam Phoebe, 30 seconds. Madam Sherese, 30 seconds. Dr. Patrick, 30 seconds. Me, I will run it off. So, Dr. Nneka.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And I believe I've learned quite a lot of things from Dr. Ijewere today. You know, let us go back to the land. That is my message.
Okay. Madam Phoebe?
Yes, I completely agree. Thank you so much for giving us the platform to share about this today. I think sharing of stories, of information, how we used to do things is so useful. You know, you can learn so much by just sharing and communing with each other. So thank you for letting us do that today.
Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you,
Sherese?
Uncle Sonny, and thank you,
No.
Dr.
Thank you, Auntie Sherese, not me. I was what do you call a bystander. Yes.
To follow on our pages CLWC, also TCA, and also Carib Health NG.
Okay, then you can include SIL later. Yes.
30 seconds just to share a real story that occurred several years ago, and it was out in the media. There was a teacher in a university in the US. I think she was from Mali or Senegal, and she was in a class and had a student who sat towards the back of the class and often brought, I think it was a single mom, or her schedule was caused that to always bring her child to the classroom. And this particular day, the child was making noise quite a bit, distracting the mom from paying attention to the teacher. The teacher now volunteered and took the child, put the child in the back, wrapped the child, the African style, and the child went absolutely quiet for the entire left part of the lecture. So going back to nature, coming back to those humanity things that we did with our family, with our children, with our parents, I think it's a path to go, and also with our nutrition and our medicines.
Oh my goodness. There's nothing to add to this. Just to thank all of you for being part of Wellness 1 hour and Soni Irabor Live 1 hour. So it was beautiful 2-hour show. Excuse me. For once I didn't get bored just talking all the way to myself. Thank you all. God bless you, and bye bye now.
Thank you.